Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the Weekly Roar! I'm Greg Storch, owner of Lion Enterprise, host of the Weekly Roar, and the founder of a worldwide barter coaching program called The Helping Hand. I'm a certified professional leadership coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. Now, it's time for tip number 9 for new leaders, and that is to encourage creativity in others. When I worked as an IT contractor supporting some of the federal agencies in Washington, D.C., one of the senior executives at one of the agencies would always tell me how he needed to have the right people in the right seats on the right bus. Of course, that makes sense if all you're trying to do is push an agenda to reach a certain outcome, but none of that will really matter if the employees are the right people in the right seats on the right bus, and all they want to do is get off that bus at the next stop. One of the ways to attract and retain top performers is for leaders to encourage creativity in others. It's a proven fact that creativity makes people happier at work. And who doesn't want to work at a place where they're happy? Now, not many people enjoy being that Dunkin' Donuts guy who follows that same routine day after day. Time to make the donuts. They don't want to have the same routines every day. They want to have more freedom of expression and creative license. And in today's world of innovation, leaders should want to encourage creativity. The best ideas aren't coming from the top down. They're coming from the creative minds of the people that are doing the work. But it's essential that leaders create the environment that will encourage others to think and act more creatively in the workplace. So, what do I actually mean when I say to be creative? And how can leaders design a culture that promotes it? Well, I think many people relate creativity to artistry, but creativity doesn't just involve producing a work of art or inventing a new product. Creativity is now more than ever a vital ingredient for others to come up with new ways to solve old problems. Here's a real life example that all of you, I'm sure, can relate to. Now, believe it or not, Steve Jobs almost prevented Apple from creating the most profitable product in the entire world. Here's what happened. The product and development team at Apple was trying to convince Jobs that their innovative idea was the perfect fit for Apple. But Jobs struggled for 6 months with the concept that they proposed. And then he finally realized he was wrong. It was a culture of creativity that saved Apple from its own founder. It took the team months of discussion, but Jobs finally gave his blessing, and 2 teams were tasked to experiment with different ideas. The first idea was to possibly add calling capabilities to the iPod. And the second idea was to turn the Mac into a tiny tablet that doubled as a phone. And that was how Apple made history with the first iPhone. It was like Reese's peanut butter cups, 2 great tastes that taste great together. So, if building a culture of creativity is a key factor in our success today, why aren't more leaders embracing it? Well, in my opinion, I think it might have a lot to do with mindset. Now, you've heard me speak about an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset before. Well, When a leader wants to build a culture of creativity, they have to foster an abundance mindset. Leaders with a scarcity mindset are going to have a difficult time embracing creativity. See, an abundance mindset gives leaders the ability to feel confident that there are always more ideas. It also makes it easier for them to let go of the bad ideas and accept the better ones. I guess you could say that that was the problem Steve Jobs had to get over before moving forward with the iPhone. He wasn't a big fan of mobile phones and cell phone companies. He said that developing an Apple phone was the dumbest idea he had ever heard. That's why leaders have to let go of a scarcity mindset. And they can do that by realizing that ideas can come from anyone, not just creative types. It's also helpful to let go of our own ideas and embrace other people's ideas instead. Now, it's no doubt that Jobs was a visionary, but without that team at Apple fostering an abundance mindset and being resilient, the iPhone wouldn't exist today. Now, it's not always easy to divorce ourselves from our own ideas as leaders, right? We believe we have to be the visionary that comes up with the ideas, and then we influence others to execute them, right? No. When leaders think and talk about their own ideas, well, what happens is they typically assume one of three different roles: the preacher, the prosecutor, or the politician. But what's so interesting is that no matter which role they assume, they always produce the same result, and that's to close themselves off from other ideas. When a leader starts sermonizing, is that even a word? When they start pushing their own agenda to promote their own beliefs and protect their ideas, that's when they're being the preacher. And we've probably all seen the leader that just destroys the logic of any ideas that oppose their own just to prove a point, support their position, and highlight the flaws in all the other ideas. Yep, you guessed it. That would be the prosecutor. That's the worst boss, right? He's going to tell you, or she's going to tell you, how dumb of an idea that was. And then the third lens that a leader can put on to force their own agenda is that of the politician, where they run around trying to gather supporters of their ideas and hoping to sway others so they can keep the upper hand. It's a total power play. But building a culture of creativity requires diversity of thought, creativity. We need to be able to see the world through different lenses, not just the most comfortable or convenient ones for us and our agenda. So I hope I'm convincing you why it's important for leaders to encourage creativity in others. It makes people happier at work, and it encourages diversity of thought. And besides, you know what they say, two heads are better than one. Look, leaders don't have to be the ones who always come up with the ideas for others to execute. The good leaders know this and encourage creativity in others so their ideas can flow. They know that everyone can contribute ideas, and not just people who deem themselves as creatives. You may not think you have a creative bone in your body, yet you could dream up the next big idea and never even know it. So here are a few tips on how to encourage creativity in others, which will ultimately result in a culture of creativity. The leader creates the culture, and we see the culture in the behaviors of the people who follow them. So here's tip number one. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The fact is, and maybe the problem, is that most ideas never see the light of day. We qualify them early because we don't think they look good, and then we never bring them up. We're like, That's really dumb. I'm not saying that out loud. Don't fall into that trap of eliminating something good because you're trying to get rid of something bad. That's the challenge with creativity. We have to evaluate the potential of our ideas, not how the idea is in its infancy. When we're brainstorming to find the best idea out of a sea of really bad ones, remember that early ideas are fragile and they need to be nurtured. So the next tip is to embrace the unreasonable ideas too. A lot of innovative ideas sound pretty terrible at first. And when a leader applies success factors to the idea right out of the gate, it's going to kill that idea way too early in the game. So sometimes it pays to think about the unreasonable ideas. What if at the next brainstorming session that you hold, that you actually encourage all of the participants to come up with the ideas that might get them fired? That will spark some creativity. Or maybe it'll spark a little fear. I'm not sure. Give it a try, and you just might find the most effective ideas start out as the most unreasonable. So don't dismiss ideas because at first they sound too ludicrous to even consider. Let them marinate a little bit. Now, I love this last tip. And tip number 3 is to let ideas win, not titles. The hierarchies we create in corporate leadership can be the very thing that kills innovation and creativity. We've all seen it before at meetings where a power struggle turns a creative conversation into something a lot more personal. To learn to fly, we have to test our wings. And that can mean being given the chance to test and try things out within reason, of course. But like any parent watching their babies fly for the first time, some guidance has to be given so they don't die and to avoid disaster. But the truth is, in the workplace, you either let them try to express their creativity or you're going to kill their drive and the desire to contribute to the team. So keep the titles out and the ideas in if you want your followers to flourish in your culture of creativity. Don't forget, the character of a company is a reflection of its people. Everyone on the team has different backgrounds and unique experiences. Even people who do the same types of jobs will have all gotten there in different ways. That's what allows them to think problems differently and come up with different solutions. Some succeed where others might fail. Encouraging others to play to their individual strengths will improve their morale and even the quality of their work. Rather than trying to drive a square peg through a round hole, try letting people find what they're good at within their job and then do that. I promise you, they'll be happier and more productive. Well, that's going to do it for me today. Now, I want to remind you of the upcoming panel discussion on growth that's occurring on Wednesday, April 27th. We are going to have some really cool giveaways. I have Anza Goodbar, I have Melanie Ake, Miziel Diaz, and my good friend and shipmate, Tony Thornton, joining me to discuss their growth journeys and steps that you can take to get on yours. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be making a really big announcement at that panel discussion. So if you haven't registered yet, it's not too late. You're going to find the registration link down in today's comments. So get registered and join us. Don't forget to join me next week for the final tip in this series for new leaders when I discuss tip number 10. And that's the importance of providing authentic appreciation to others. Until we meet again, remember, be powerful but stay poised just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.